Doctor Who fans, and welcome to my next Doctor Who review. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the second Doctor Who story ever, the second story with William Hartnell, and the first ever story to feature the Daleks, simply titled The Daleks. I also did a commentary on this with the Watcher. Well, at the time I'm recording this, I did it the previous day, so I did it yesterday. So if you want to listen to that, then that's on my other channel. So, the Daleks. The first ever Dalek story. So yeah, this is a very interesting one. I'll just read the plot off the back of the DVD. The TARDIS lands in an alien petrified jungle beyond which lies a mysterious deserted city. The Doctor insists on exploring, but before long the TARDIS crew will begin experiencing the early effects of radiation sickness. And then they discover that the Metal City isn't as deserted as they first thought. And that's pretty much your plot for the Daleks. Well, the Daleks, yes, this, I have to say, is a phenomenal story. For me, this is where the show really starts to kick off, where it starts to hit its stride. I do have a lot of respect for the first story, An Unearthly Child. I do have a lot of love and respect for it, but I can't say that I really love it. I mean, I like the episode, sorry, I meant to say, I like the episode, I like the story. It's pretty decent, I gave it a pass, you know, it's passable for what it is. I just thought the caveman idea didn't really work. But, I mean, it's the first story, so you have to go in there with that sense of respect. With this, there's much more of a confidence. They are really, I mean, you know, you've got to really hand it to Terry Nation. He created something genuinely scary. And, you know, it's funny, I was talking with the Watcher yesterday in the commentary, and the basic design of the Daleks hasn't actually changed that much. I mean, obviously the colours and the sort of exterior designs have changed, but the basic idea of the sort of the shell and the eyes, and then the things at the top, and then the eye, and then the gun and the sucker, you know, and the balls, the basic sort of blueprint hasn't actually changed. The sort of exterior models have changed. So, I mean, it goes to show actually how much of an impact that the Daleks have made on the show. Some models are better than others, but for this first story, they're genuinely terrifying. I mean, if you just look at the front here, look at these Daleks. Look, they are really quite scary. And this is the Doctor's first encounter with them, so he's also trying to understand them as well. So that's really interesting. What's great about this story is that it's as much about the Daleks as it is about the characters. I really am liking this set of characters. I mean, the Doctor himself, played by William Hartnell, he's fantastic. He really is, and I think he deserves a lot more respect than some of the fans make him out to be. I've often seen rankings where he's placed quite low on the list, which isn't really fair. I think he is the guy that defined it. He defined the role. He made it his own, and he genuinely brought the show to life along with the creators. His performance was the blueprint for the 11 actors to come. Well, 12 if you include John Hurt. But he's a very interesting character, and again, what I love about him is that he's so odd. Like, he's a old-fashioned kind of guy. He dresses a bit odd. He's just odd. He's just very odd. And he's like, oh my boy, and in the beginnings of the story, there's a sense of the power struggle between him and the Doctor, between Ian and the Doctor, and that was really good. So there's tension there. And the idea of them almost dying from radiation sickness. This is only, bearing in mind, this is only the second Doctor Who story ever made. And yet you're already placing the characters in that vulnerable situation where all of them are going to die from radiation sickness. I mean, the Doctor especially, you're like, my God, this was a statement to show how seriously they were taking this show. This is not played for camp laughs. This is not campy. This is serious, dark stuff. This is terrifying. And they wanted the audience to feel, as the companions felt, terrified. And the performances are great. I mean, William Russell, I think, he is fantastic as Ian. And what I love about Ian in this story is how he takes charge. He takes charge when the Doctor is captured by the Daleks. He takes charge and he speaks to the Fowls. He pushes the leader to the edge towards violence because I suppose they're pacifists. So he pushes them to the edge because they are in desperate need of help. And, you know, so he's very clever. Sorry, my PS4 just made a noise. He's very clever, he's cunning, and he's assertive. And he's very good at formulating plans and, you know, sort of coming to terms with... sorry. He's really good at sort of... He's adjusted to this now. He's... fucking messages all the time. Sorry, I keep getting messages. Sorry about that. I just didn't want the notification noises to interrupt me when I was recording. So, yeah, I just had to cut there for a second. Yeah, so Ian's very much sort of taking a more of a leadership role, and I like that. And he's very protective of Barbara and Susan. But also Barbara has her moments too. I mean, you still see, with those two, you still see the terror in their faces and the fear, and their performances, they do a fantastic job at conveying how scary this is. I mean, the showmakers want you to feel like they do. They are, you know, the closest characters to the audience. I mean, even Susan, who was probably, well, I mean, she's the Doctor's granddaughter, but even so, she's never actually sort of seen this much before. So this is all new territory for her as well, and you know, there's always tension. I mean, this is a long story. It's 7 parts, and in each part there's a lot of tension. The first part is sort of build up, and then you reveal the Dalek sucker at the end, and then you know the Daleks themselves. What I love about them is that they're just so scary because there's no emotion. There is no emotion. They have, their emotion has been stripped away from them. They are just ruthless. They won't care. They're just basically machines. They are, well, I say programmed. They were made to basically just follow orders like soldiers. So there's no remorse there at all. And that's the interesting thing about this story, is that Terry Nation established these creatures that are just ruthless. There's no emotion. There's no heart there whatsoever. And interesting seeing the sort of the Dalek sort of mutant that lives inside the shell. That was very good. It was something that they did also in the new series when Russell T Davies rebooted the show. Well, sorry, revitalized the show. And you also have these other side characters called the Fowls. If I had to make a few criticisms of this story, I'd say that they didn't really do much until the later half. I mean, it's not really criticism. It's just like we sort of hint at them in the earlier stages, and then they finally do contribute quite a lot. And it gets really intense as well, this story, especially when one of them, I can't remember the guy's name, but when one of them nearly dies. Well, I think he does die, doesn't he? I can't actually remember what happened, but he was on the rope and he cut the rope. So that was very, very intense. And the production values are huge for this story. Like, since the first one, they've made a jump, you know, because they're in different locations. They're in the Dalek prison, which is really cool. They're in the TARDIS, obviously, and then they're also in this jungle, which is also very scary. And then they go down into the caves. So this episode screams production values. Sorry, this story screams production values. It's fantastically well put together. The direction is also very good. It's darker and it's more intense than An Unearthly Child, which had its scary moments, but I think it was a bit full on for the first story. But you know, the whole cavemen weren't really scary. The Daleks, they are scary, and they will stop at nothing. And also the voices are really just sadistic and creepy as well, and that works very well. Yes, it could be argued that maybe having it in 7 parts is a little bit too long. I think you could probably lose some of it. There was just occasions when it dragged slightly, not much, but just a couple of scenes in, like, towards the middle where they could have just shaved it down a bit. It's like, I think maybe they spend a bit too much time in the prison. I do think that, you know, I mean, because I think it's like at least 3 parts that they spend in there almost. So maybe if they had it as 6 parts or maybe 5 parts, it might have been slightly stronger. I just thought there are occasions when the story did slow down. I mean, it slowed down with purpose. You know, they made up for it by having, you know, the characters in the situation. You know, the situational drama works really well, but I just think they're just a nitpick. They spend a bit too much time in prison. Um, this is a really good story. It's it definitely was the sort of the foundations for many Dalek stories yet to come. So I look forward to watching those. And so the performances are great. Also, there's this whole sort of brief romance that sparks between Barbara and one of the Fowls, which don't really go anywhere. I didn't think it was at all necessary. I know you have to have some light relief in the story, but for me, it wasn't really needed. There's some nice comedy from William Hartnell. He's quite funny when the occasion warrants it, but this is more of a serious story. Serious. So maybe they could have had a bit more light relief. That wasn't the romance. Maybe there could have been slightly more comedy, but maybe it wouldn't have worked for this story. I don't know. I mean, this is a pretty much almost flawless story. I would just say that, yeah, they spend a bit too much time in prison. It's a little bit long, but I mean, I have to be honest, this is a bloody great story. I mean, it's, you know, I couldn't actually remember this. I had seen it years ago, but I couldn't remember it at all. So I'm glad, actually, because I felt like I was watching it for the first time. I'm really starting to like these characters. I think since the beginning of this story, there's still tension between the Doctor and Ian and Barbara and Susan, but you start to see a more positive vibe towards the end. And you start to really feel like they're, oh, okay, they're sort of building bridges now that they've been through two major experiences. And, you know, that have really sort of brought them together. And I thought being in those dangerous circumstances has brought them together. So that's very nice. And also the ending of this story is very good when the TARDIS just crashes, obviously, for the next story, The Age of Destruction, which will of course be a much shorter story. So yeah, despite my minor quibbles with this story, I'm probably gonna have to rate this story a 10 out of 10. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Just a minor niggle about the running time, but other than that, it's very, very strong. So yeah, if you haven't watched it, then definitely do watch it. It's really good for 1963. Sorry, I should say. So that's my review of The Daleks. So tune in next time when I review The Edge of Destruction. Until then, guys, thank you all for watching, and as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS 11. See ya.